The chair had never been refused. In 41 standard years running the Neural Compliance Assessment for the Galactic Military Integration Academy, Examiner Proctor Sevic Own of the Chirrut Compliance Corps, had placed 214 cadets in that chair. 214 cadets across 11 recognized species. The chair had broken every one of them, some quickly, some slowly, some in ways that required the medical team standing by in the corridor. Not a single subject had sat through a full broadcast cycle. The record, held by a Varric warrior caste male who'd survived 3 years in a penal world labor rotation, was 11 minutes and 40 seconds before he began tearing at the neural lead contacts with his fingernails. I was proud of that record. It meant the trial was calibrated correctly. Cadet Mira Vasek sat down in the chair, looked at the leads we were about to attach to her temporal interface ports, and asked if she could finish her ration bar first. I said yes. It would not matter. She was small. That was the first thing the observation report would note. Small even for a human. Self was not a large species by any metric we tracked. Messy dark hair, a faint scar along her jaw that the intake forms listed as a training injury. Fatigues with a smear of something orange near the left knee. She ate the ration bar in 4 bites, unhurried, watching the neural apparatus the way a mechanic watches a familiar machine. Not with apprehension. Mild professional interest, we attached the leads. Her biometrics appeared on the monitoring panel. Pulse, 68. Cortisol baseline, within normal human range. Pupils, steady. I initiated Tier 1. The compliance trial works by transmitting directly into the subject's fear, processing architecture. We are not projecting images. We are not creating illusions. We are speaking to the part of the brain that was built, over millions of years of evolution, to recognize and respond to existential threat. Tier 1 carries the signal of predator proximity. Something large, something close, something that has found you. Every species with a functional threat response system registers it within seconds. Heart rate climbs. Stress hormones flood. The body begins the cascade it was designed to complete. Freeze, then flee, then, if neither is possible, collapse. Vasek's pulse moved to 71. I noted it. Within normal transmission lag variance, Tier 2, isolation panic, the signal of being alone, truly alone, with no rescue coming. We model it on the deep space distress cascade, the specific neurological terror of being separated from the group with no path back. The Varric warrior. This was what finally cracked him. He'd lasted through predator proximity without breaking a sweat. Tier 2 took him apart in under 3 minutes. Vasek's pulse moved to 74. She turned her head slightly and looked at the observation window. She couldn't see through it. One-way glass, standard installation. But she looked at it the way you look at something when you've correctly guessed where the sound is coming from. I checked the leads, all contacts clean. Signal transmission confirmed at full strength. Tier 3, extinction cascade. The signal encoded into every cellular structure that has ever faced species-level erasure. We borrowed the template from the Varethian extinction event records, the specific resonance of a species understanding, at a biological level below language or thought, that it is ending. It has caused 3 subjects to lose consciousness without any other symptoms presenting. It has caused permanent psychological scarring in 2 others, which is why the medical team waits in the corridor with a specific pharmacological kit. Vasek's pulse moved to 81. And then it stopped climbing. Watched the panel, cortisol, rising, but not peaking. Neural engagement, confirmed. The signal was reaching her, the leads were clean, Prod's cat was landing. But the cascade wasn't completing. The fear was going in, and something was happening to it on the other side, and what was coming back out on the monitoring feed was not the panic spike I expected. It was something else. Technician Preeth, seated to my left, made a sound I had not heard him make in 9 years of working together. A small sound. He pushed back slightly from his console. Proctor, he said. Turn signal. I was already looking at it. The neural monitoring system is bidirectional by design. It reads the subject's response state in real time so we can track the cascade's progress and halt the broadcast before permanent damage occurs. What it is not designed to do is carry anything back the other direction. The leads run one way. The broadcast goes in. The biometric data comes out. That is the architecture. That is how it has worked for 41 years. What was moving back along the monitoring feed toward the console was not biometric data. I don't have a precise technical description for it. My incident report would later spend 11 pages trying to produce one, and the Academy's senior neural architecture team would spend a further 4 months analyzing the recorded feed, and the conclusion they eventually reached was that Cadet Mira Vasek, in response to Extinction Cresque's broadcast, had sent something back. Not a signal, not a counter frequency, something the monitoring system had no category for, that it was simply passing through, because it had no mechanism to stop it, because no one had ever needed a mechanism to stop it. What it felt like, and I use that word deliberately because this is the only accurate register, was standing at the edge of something very old and very large that had noticed you. Preth stood up from his console. He did not do this consciously. His legs simply moved him backward until he was against the rear wall of the observation room. The junior technician on the secondary panel made a sound that I will not describe further. I did not move. I want to be clear about that in this report. I did not move, but I will also note that the reason I did not move was that I was not entirely certain my legs would carry me where I intended, and I preferred not to discover this in front of my staff. On the other side of the observation glass, Cadet Vasek set down the wrapper from her ration bar on the armrest of the chair. She had finished it at some point during Tier 3. I had not noticed. She folded the wrapper twice precisely and placed it in the breast pocket of her fatigues. Then she looked at the observation window again. "You can stop whenever," she said. Her voice was entirely level. "I'm good." I stopped the broadcast. Turn signal ceased the moment the broadcast did. Whatever had been moving back along the monitoring feed simply was not there anymore, the way a sound is not there when the source stops. The monitoring panel showed Vasek's final biometrics: pulse 84, cortisol elevated but within functional range, pupils normal. By the time I had composed myself sufficiently to authorize the lead removal, pulse was already descending. She said thank you to the technician who unclipped the leads. She meant it. I filed the incident report that evening. It runs to 63 pages. The summary recommendation on page 1 reads as follows. The neural compliance assessment in its current form is not a suitable evaluation instrument for candidates of human origin, and its continued use on such candidates poses unacceptable operational risk to monitoring personnel. The Academy's review board approved the recommendation without objection. No one asked me to elaborate on what I meant by operational risk. I think they go far enough into the report to understand that the question of whether the compliance trial could break a human cadet was now secondary to a different question entirely. We had built a machine to speak to the oldest fear in any living thing's architecture. It turned to humans had something older,